Okay, so today we're going to talk about creating supports for jewelry in order to be able to be used in 3D printing and then using the mesh repair function. So we have a ring here, fairly simple kind of ring. And the first thing that we're going to do is I'm just going to turn off my gemstones. Don't need those there at the moment. And if we wanted to grow this ring as a one-piece ring, here's how we would support it. We're going to select the piece first, go into our tools menu and select the 3D printing tool. Here we've got a top row here, and this is going to be all of our supports that we're going to create. So first thing we want to do is we want to show the support regions. So by clicking this and having the piece highlighted, we're going to go up to the command line here and click on Add Object. What that's going to do is it's going to convert this and shade it so that any grey areas are fine and anything that happens to be red needs to be supported, and that gives us a good guide for where to put supports. Right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our main sprue. So to do that, we're going to come across into this control bar here and select the ring support sprue. Select that. It's going to ask us to select the ring to sprue, so we're just going to select the piece and then hit enter. And it will automatically create a sprue for us. Now we can change the dimensions and the height, the thickness of this particular sprue to whatever we want. Generally speaking, I like to keep my sprues at about 4mm, so click on the command line there where it says height and just type in 4 and then hit enter, and that will adjust that there for us. And if you needed to adjust anything else, you certainly could. You'll also notice that at the moment the default that comes out is this oval shape. You can change that if you want from an ellipse by clicking on the base shape and selecting either a rectangle or an outline of the actual ring itself. So I guess it depends on how much real estate you've got to work with on your actual build plan as to which one of those you select. Generally speaking, I stick with the ellipse. Once we're happy with that, we're going to click on enter, and that will set there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a support sprue in the middle of the ring. So we're going to come across to this particular support ring here, and this is going to create something similar to a tree with the main trunk, and I'm going to select it to about halfway, and then from there you'll notice that it has these little branches that come off. And so I'm going to just click where I want these sprues to go. So you kind of want to, you don't want to go too crazy with it. But you do want to create enough support so that you are confident that the piece that you are about to grow will be supported adequately. Now with this particular ring here, I've placed those supports manually. I haven't really done anything to it, but there are a few options up here, and if you click on mirror X and mirror Y, let's do that for a sec just to give you a demonstration. Mirror X on, it will give you an identical support either side, and the same with mirror Y on, it'll give you in the Y axis. So you can switch those on and off as you need, and that's particularly good when you've got a symmetrical ring, so you really only have to do half the work. Alright, once we're happy with that, we're going to click enter, and then we're going to come down to here, and you'll see that this ring will highlight as we roll our mouse across it. So we're going to now control the thickness of this because it doesn't need to be anywhere near that thick. Now generally speaking, I like to take mine down right down to the maximum, which is about 0.7 of a mil. It won't let you go any further than that. So I'm going to take that to there and click, and then do the same thing for the bottom. So the width first, 0.7, and this one here to 0.7 as well. And you can adjust those accordingly. Different designs will, create or will require different thicknesses, but generally speaking, I leave mine at about 0.7. It's really all you need. It makes it easier to adjust. So once we're happy with that, we're going to hit enter, and that will set that in place. Now you'll also notice that under here we also have these sections here that are red. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to support those though, because what we've got there is that this whole under bezel here is being supported by these claws here, and so it doesn't really require any support to it. So once we're happy with that, we're going to select the piece, and now we're going to run it through our mesh repair function, and that can be found in the tools menu right next door to the 3D printing tool. And when we click on that, we're going to select delete input objects equals on, because we don't want a duplicate there. We want it to remove the poly surfaces that we have here and replace it with a repaired mesh. So we're going to make sure that that is switched on. Sometimes that'll be off by default, and then hit enter. And what that's going to do is it's going to convert this particular piece to a mesh and make sure that the mesh is all completely watertight. So if you've got sections in there that haven't been boolean together, for example, like this head section wasn't boolean to the shank, then the mesh repair will take care of that for you. You won't have to worry about it. It'll also fix any naked edges or any holes that in the poly surfaces that it can fix, and make sure that the entire piece is a watertight piece ready for 3D printing. So you can see the progress here at 54%. I'm going to pause the video and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so once we've finished with the mesh repair, you're going to get something that looks like this. And you can see when we zoom in, all the little triangles, this whole piece is one unified piece, all completely watertight and ready for printing. We can check the mesh by clicking on check mesh here, and it will give us a run of numbers, but the most important thing to be concerned with is this first sentence here. This is a good mesh. Anything else doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean the mesh is bad, and so on and so on, to you know, all these faces that are intersecting one another. It doesn't mean anything really to the fact that we're going to be able to use this for printing. As long as it's got this is a good mesh, that's all you need. So we can click on OK to that, and then you would export this particular mesh by going into the File and Export button, and then selecting where you want it to export to, and obviously you want to select the STL option down here as well. So give it a name and hit save, and that's where it will go. Let's have a look at a slightly different kind of file. Well, actually, let's bring that file back, but let's undo the mesh repair. So we're going to delete all of this stuff here. And let's just say we just wanted the setting itself. So I'm going to select this setting. I'll just select all of that. And I'm going to go to Utilities, Center, and I'm going to pop this down at F4. The next thing I'm going to do is select it. And this time around, there's no need to put a ring support because we haven't got a ring there. We've only really got a component. So I'm going to select the support base option. And that's going to create a support base here, just a rectangular base. We're going to hit enter to that. And then what we're going to do is create some supports. So for this particular piece, being that it is so small, I'm going to use the smallest support options here. So I'm going to click on that and just use this support option. And we're just simply going to place supports around the piece. And again, you've got the option there to use your mirror X and mirror Y if you wish. It can save you a good amount of time. But by placing these supports around the piece, and depending on the speed of your computer, this will be either very quick or, like my computer, fairly slow and cumbersome. But you can keep going around, making sure that you support all of those sections. And as I said, you don't need to go too overboard with it, as long as most of the sections are being supported. Now these supports are about 0.3 or 0.4 or so of a millimeter, so they're very easy to cut off. And I found that when it comes to cleaning up the model after it's been built, the thinner the supports, the less potential damage you're going to do to the actual piece itself. So I think I'm going to stick there, and I'll just pop one just here, or maybe just here. And once you're happy with that, we're going to hit enter. And again, we just run through the mesh repair function. So we have something like that. As I said, there's no need to support these guys here. They're being supported by these claws, and that will grow quite nicely. So again, select everything there, run the tools menu and the mesh repair option. Make sure delete input objects equals on, and then hit enter and take it from there. I hope that helps.